The all-new Fossil HR Hybrid Watch was just released by Fossil last week, and as you can see, I have one right here. This watch is an intersection of smartwatch capabilities and Fossil's famous analog watch aesthetic. This watch promises to have a 2-week battery life, heart rate tracking, sleep tracking, an e-ink display that is always on and is customizable to meet your needs, and more. In this video, I'll be testing out the bold claims of this watch, going over the pros and the cons, and giving you a tour of this new hybrid watch. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Mike O'Brien, and like I said, this video is all about the Fossil HR, which is a hybrid smartwatch, and I'm really excited about this watch in particular because Fossil's been making some really big moves this year. So they came out the Fossil Gen 5, which is arguably the best smartwatch for Android phones, and then now, right here, what they have is a hybrid smartwatch, which is essentially the best hybrid for any phone. So I think this watch right here tackles 3 major problems that most smartwatches face, and people that would complain about that would definitely love this watch. So the first one, which is the obvious one, and that is the battery life. So an average smartwatch lasts maybe 2 days, 3 days max, and this right here is lasting 2 weeks, which is absolutely incredible. Now, secondly, it might be anybody that doesn't like the always on display or lack thereof. So if you have a watch, first of all, with no always on display, that means your watch, yeah, you're saving battery power, but everyone else is looking at you, you just have a black circle on your wrist until you look at it, right? So if you have always on display, you're either draining your battery or the watch always on display is like 2 kind of faint white hands on a black screen. So not that exciting. This right here is an analog watch with an always on display underneath it that doesn't drain your battery. And then the third thing that this watch really offers that standard smartwatches don't offer is just a classic aesthetic. I know it's becoming more popular to wear smartwatches with suits, but it still really doesn't compare for a lot of people to a classic analog watch. I want to start off by giving you guys a tour of this watch to show you what it's all about. So looking at the front, you first of all have 2 hands right there. It's a classic analog watch. And then behind that, you have your e-ink display, which is very sharp. It's monochromatic and the refresh rate is decent. It's not extremely fast. You're not going to watch videos on this, but for the purposes of this watch, it definitely gets the job done. Now you'll see that you have 4 little icons right there. You can customize those to do essentially whatever you want. So I have like the heart rate, I have my steps, I have how many active minutes I had today, I have the weather, and there's so many other options for that. I'll show you later on in the video. Now if you double tap the watch face, what's really cool is you can actually turn on this little light behind there, 4 little LEDs, so you can see this in the dark. Now, if you don't feel like tapping on that, or if you just want to look at your watch, you wake up in the middle of the night, you roll over, look at your watch, the watch hands also glow in the dark. So then on the side, we have 3 buttons. None of them are dials, so there's no crown on this, but the 3 buttons are totally customizable to do essentially whatever you want. I'll show you that later on as well. Then there's actually on the back, you'll see that you have your heart rate sensor there, so you can, track your heart rate, you can track your sleep. There's an accelerometer on board, so it is also a pedometer built in. So all nice basic health tracking features that you need right there. And the accelerometer is also useful because you have some cool wrist gestures then. So for example, if you flip your wrist really quickly, it'll spin the watch hands around, and you might say, like, why would you want to do that? And the reason is because you have these analog hands in front of your screen, it might be covering up something that you're interested in, and so flicking your wrist would make it move and you can see everything you need to in the screen. Now typically when you go into like a workout or some other situation where you want to see the whole screen, it reorients the watch hands horizontal and stops telling you the time, of course. Hey guys, a quick little aside here. If you are new here and have not yet subscribed, I have good news. I'm actually making another video in the next couple weeks where I will talk about the best smartwatch of 2019. If you're watching this after 2019, go to my channel and check it out. Otherwise, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss that video. Now the straps in this watch are leather on the outside and rubber on the inside. The watch has 3 atmospheres rating for waterproofing or water resistance, which basically means you can wash your hands, it can get rained on, but you really shouldn't be showering or swimming with this. And honestly, with a leather band, I don't plan on doing that anyway. The watch is 42 millimeters and the watch bands are each 22 millimeters, and there are several different designs available. This one right here is the dark brown collider. There's also a charter version, which they don't really say it, but I'm pretty sure the charter is like the women's version and the collider is like the men's version, just based on the sizes of the watches and the size of the bands. But overall, looking at the aesthetics of this watch, I think it looks really good. It has its same shape, same size as the classic Fossil watches you might have seen elsewhere. So they really do a good job of making this blend in. You can find, all these different watch bands that are easy to interchange. You just pinch the side or the back, and it just comes right off. I think this watch also does a good job of tackling the bezel problem. A lot of smartwatches have a very chunky bezel around the outside. This one has like the minute mark, so it makes sense that it's there. As far as comfort goes, I'm not a huge fan of this rubber interior right there. Obviously, leather's a little stiff when you get it, so it kind of has a weird feel at first, but it was the same strap that we had on the Fossil Gen 5, which after a couple days kind of started to fit better and it really felt really nice. Now I want to give you an interface tour and show you the inside of the watch right here. So you have, like I said, you have those 4 little icons. I'll show you how to customize those in the apps later. But looking at the 3 buttons, the top button, what I have it set to do right now is go into workouts. Now you have 6 different workouts you can choose from, and they're pretty straightforward, pretty simple ones. So you have weights, you have treadmill, elliptical, you have running, and then you have just basic workout one. And so those essentially, because you only have a heart rate sensor, an accelerometer, and just the smarts on this watch, it ends up really just telling you like what your heart rate is right now, essentially how far you went, but it's not using GPS, it's just using like a pedometer, so it's not that accurate. And then also it's going to show you like the elapsed time of your workout. Maybe it'll predict calories based on the time and your heart rate, but that's basically all you're doing. It's not going to be the best watch for tracking fitness, but it definitely gets the job done if you're trying to work out over your lunch break or something. This information is then relayed back to the app, or you can have it relayed to Google Fit as well, and I'll show you that later on. That's what I personally use. Google Fit works pretty well for me. So then if we tap and hold the middle button, it'll bring you home from any screen you're on, and then from the home screen, tapping and holding the middle button again brings you into settings. Now the settings, you really only have 3 options here. It tells you about the watch, so you can find out like the serial number if you just really want to know the serial number for some reason. Then you have notifications, which you can turn on or off. And then lastly, you can go over and call your phone. And so ringing your phone is a nice feature. If you lose your phone, it'll just start making a sound. You can go find your phone. A weird caveat here though is that you don't actually turn this off with your phone. So it just keeps ringing until you turn it off with the watch. So from home, if I tap the middle button once, it goes into essentially my summary of my fitness for the day. So it tells me my steps, my active minutes, my calories. And then if I go down, it starts measuring my heart rate. And so the heart rate sensor, I'll test it out later on in the video and see how accurate it is, but I don't think it should have a problem. You have the 2 little sensors on the back, not as good as the 8 we have on the Active 2 or the 4 we have on a lot of other watches, but 2 should get the job done. And then lastly, from the home screen right here, if I hit the bottom button, it brings me into my music controls, which is what I chose to be there. Again, you can customize any of these 3 buttons to do anything, but I chose music, so I can play and pause my music. It shows what the artist is, it shows what the song is, and then if you go down to controls there, so if we hit down and go over to controls, you can either skip forward or back a song, and you can control the volume as well. So nice to have that simple volume control and music control on the watch, but that's essentially all you're gonna be doing on this watch. Now, of course, you do also get notifications, you get calls, you get texts, emails, and a bunch of other notifications. Whatever you choose from your phone essentially will show up on here. Maybe not everything, but calls, texts, emails, that's what I use it for. Now, you don't have quick replies, unfortunately, but what you can do is if you get a phone call, you can accept or reject it from the watch. As you can tell, we're obviously not running Wear OS right here, so it is Fossil's own interface right there, which it's pretty simple. It makes sense that they just made their own for this one. Okay, so within the Fossil app right here,
Another thing I forgot to mention is that you can actually change the watch face itself by going to the little paint icon right there, and then you have several different options. So you can go with circles, some fancier circles, some circles with some rings around them, or some other kind of circle-looking things. So lots of different options. If we just apply one of them, you'll see that the watch does look pretty cool then.
First, go to home. It tells you just basically your health stuff. So I said you can connect this to Google Fit, but essentially for most of what you need, it's really gonna show up like right here. And so it tells you, you can track your sleep, you can track your heart rate, your calories and stuff like that. And it gives you a pretty in-depth record. I really like this app. I haven't had any problems with it. And so if you scroll up, it tells you essentially what watch you're connected to in case you have multiple watches. Customization, then, if you go over, you have a couple different options. You can swipe left and right to find some different presets. So if you say like, yeah, fitness one, I want a daily one, I want a travel one, or you can create your own. Kind of nice to easily switch between them if you're traveling and you're like, I just want to control my music when I travel, and you can easily set that, right? So those are the options right there. If you want to customize it, you can tap on any one of these little circles right there, and you can choose from like tons of different things here. So you can have a time zone, a date, a chance of rain, you can have your active minutes, you can have the weather right there, you can have your heart rate, lots of different options there. And of course, if we tap on the buttons, again, you have many options as well. So you have a stopwatch if you're interested in that. You have notifications, you have a timer, you have weather. Honestly, I don't have a stopwatch set because if I just go to a workout, that already starts a timer essentially. So yeah, I have a false workout there, but it's kind of like a 2-for-1 workaround. If we go over to alerts, you can set alarms on this, which is nice because it lasts for 2 weeks. You can set an alarm and every morning you don't have your watch charging somewhere, it's just on your wrist. So you can wake up with a regular little buzz on your wrist, a nice subtle way to wake up in the morning. You can also have calls and messages. Do you want them to vibrate only from certain people or nobody? Because it could get annoying if you get a lot of text messages and your wrist is vibrating all day. You might want to kind of slim that out. Then we have move alerts if you wanted to have like an activity alert and say, hey, you've been sedentary for too long. Lastly, if we go over to profile, it just, again, kind of summarizes some other stuff. You can set your goals for how far you want to walk in a day, how long you want to sleep and stuff like that. You can choose different connected apps, like I said. So Google Fit is one I use. You can have Under Armour record if you want. I've never used that. Of course, you can also change your units. It comes with like metric units on there, so you might want to change that. And then it shows you the battery right here, which the battery, I haven't had it for 2 weeks, so I can't tell you if it lasts 2 weeks, but just extrapolating from this morning until now, so 13 hours of using this, it went down 4%. So if you extrapolate that, this is gonna last like 13 days. So that is very promising, very close to their 2-week mark. And I have no doubt it'll last much longer than your average smartwatch. Okay, so now getting into some of the tests, let's test out the heart rate.
So I just took my own pulse and my heart rate is 78 right now. And if we go into today's activity and go down, we have 79. So I've done this a few times. Sometimes it's plus or minus 3, sometimes plus or minus 1. Other times I've had it a little farther off, so it's not the most reliable, but more times than not, it seems to be fairly accurate.
So a few complaints and limitations about this watch. First of all, you don't have quick responses if you get a text. I think that would be nice to have. Seems like it'd be pretty simple to add into this. Maybe they'll update the firmware someday, I'm not sure, but for now, we don't have that. Other things that are limitations of this watch, I wouldn't say they're drawbacks. You kind of just know what you're getting into. This does not have Wi-Fi, GPS, Bluetooth for your headphones, so it connects to your phone by Bluetooth 5.0 low energy, but you cannot connect headphones to this. You don't have any internal storage that you can, save songs or anything. It doesn't have LTE, you don't have a microphone, you don't have a speaker on there, a smart assistant, you can't get different apps. It doesn't have a touch screen, and you don't have other watch face designs. So those are the limitations. If you're willing to accept those, this is a really great watch. I really love wearing this, and I think it's gonna be a good alternative for me to, my everyday watch I've been wearing for the past couple months has been the Active 2, which I really like for tracking my fitness and basic stuff or advanced stuff like that. But the simple stuff, if I wanna wear something to look good, wearing a suit, just dressing up, however, going to work or something, this is a watch that I think I will be wearing for a long time. So guys, comment down below what you think of this watch. Do you think it's something that you would get, or did they cut away one too many things for you, or many too many things for you to enjoy this watch? Comment down below. As always, guys, thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.